Okay, so welcome to our first attempt at a Zoom meeting. I'm Claire Allan. The person over there.
I'm Fionnuala Kearney.
Yep. And we're both writers, both been friends a really, really long time. And this is our contribution to the lockdown madness. And if I keep looking down the ways, I'm not like looking down Fionnula's top. I'm looking at my dog who is beside me. So this is today's procrastination. We're going to start things off just by, I suppose, chatting amongst ourselves.
Can I stop you just 1 second? Why did you say Louise?
Did I?
Yeah. If I keep looking down, Louise.
Down the ways. The ways. That's my accent.
Let's leave that in.
See what I have to work with here, people. Down the ways.
Okay.
So we're just this is fairly typical. This is fairly typical of us.
Serious now. Okay, right. Okay, go for it.
So Fionnula's been really good, and she's been preparing loads and loads of questions. So I'm going to let Fionnuala in her lovely fancy. Fionnula's in her lovely fancy office.
Yeah, this is my new office, folks, which is probably only alive and kicking maybe as long as coronavirus is really a couple of months, but I'm really glad to have it at the moment. So yeah.
And this is not my office, because I can't get to my office at the minute because it's in my mum's house. So this is my lovely boudoir. Yeah. So Fionnuala looks definitely more professional than I do, but she's going to kick things off now with
I am. I've got a few questions here. We'll probably end up leaving some and taking longer with some. Oh God, I've just noticed I've got 3-tone hair, but anyway, ignore that. Ignore that, people. Yeah. Right, Claire. So during this lockdown madness, is there anything that you can tell us, at least, that you've done for the very first time? And please do not mention banana bread.
I haven't made banana bread. Sorry, I mentioned it, but
fascinated with bloody banana bread.
No, and I haven't done sourdough starters or anything really like that. I did make scones.
But even not cooking wise, like, have you done anything that you never did before that somehow this lockdown has either prompted you to do or forced you to do?
Do you know what? Probably not really, apart from, no, because I would, work really closely. I have 2 children, 16 and 11. So it's kind of handy that we're at a certain age where my eldest should be doing his GCSEs. So he's not, so he doesn't really need any homeschooling because it's all being worked out on how he was getting on anyway, and his previous modules, etc. And the youngest is primary 7, so she's a school leaver, so she should have been loads of fun things. So, gosh, you know what? Probably not, except probably just not eating as many buns. I normally have a bun every morning, go to my mummy's house, where my office is, and we have a cup of tea and a bun, and that's how I start the day. So, in that regard, obviously that can't happen.
It's a good thing, yeah, good thing.
It is a good thing, as long as I don't, when this is all over, have a big bun binge. That's when we're a bit worried about. But no, you know what? I've been working really flat out. So I suppose I don't have the same excuses.
Well, for me, I made a jigsaw this morning. I haven't made a jigsaw since I was about 12.
How many pieces, Fionnuala?
This is one I actually bought for my husband for Christmas and he hasn't touched, and it's a sort of picture of London about 30 centimetres. I don't know, it's about 300 pieces or something. So
I thought you were going to say it was like 12-piece one that you bought for your granddaughter.
No, I can tell you with absolute confidence that it is 299 pieces. Imagine that. I got the whole thing made, and then there's this one jigsaw-shaped gap. And I just thought, and then I was found sort of crawling all around the floor going, you must be somewhere. But could I find it?
That would drive me absolutely.
I digress.
Crazy.
So that was my morning, and that's probably, and a few baking bits, but otherwise I haven't really done anything different either. I actually feel probably a little bit of pressure, especially, it's raised quite a lot on social media. What are you doing during lockdown that's different? But you and I are both you know, our working life hasn't changed that much, really. We're both working on our books, and, you know, the only thing that's different with you is your venue, and you know, you've still got lots of work to do, which brings me to my next question. So, Claire Allan, thriller writer extraordinaire. What are you? You're a
USA Today bestseller,
USA Today bestseller,
times 2.
times 2. You know, bestseller. So your original writing life was as a rom-com writer, as a women's fiction writer, and you ventured into thriller writing very successfully. And now you're about to sort of dip your toe back into the world of rom-com writing. So tell us about that. The book I call Libby Quinn, but forgive me, I've forgotten the full title.
Yeah, it's The Hopes and Dreams of Libby Quinn, and it is coming out on the 5th of May. So I'm one of those lucky writers that is getting to launch a book right in the middle of lockdown, which is brilliant. And it is an out and out rom-com. It's just, it's fun and it's light. And I suppose it's, I love writing the thrillers. You know that, Fionnuala, that I love writing them, and I love stretching myself as a writer to write them. But they're quite dark, and they can be quite immersive, and you can get into a sort of maybe really dark place writing them, and which is brilliant because it comes across in the writing and in the reading. But to sort of give myself, for my own mental health, a wee boost afterwards, writing these rom-coms is like a palate cleanser. And they're great fun, but I have found that I'm writing them in a completely different way than I wrote the 8 books that were published before I started writing thrillers. So I've learned so much.
Ever evolving skill, isn't it, writing?
Oh my God.
The more you flex the muscle, the more books you write, the more you learn.
And it's completely different. There's no way that I would be writing the way I did. And it's, you know, it's sort of keeping it really pacey and keeping the story moving on, and you know, working with different editors teaches you different things as well. So I have a brilliant editor. It's Boldwood Books are publishing Libby Quinn. So my editor there is she's already taught me loads and loads about writing in that genre. So
when did it come out, Claire? Remind us when.
The 5th of May. So it will be out an ebook, so you'll be able to get it on Amazon and Apple Books and Kobo, etc.
And you're using a pseudonym, yeah?
I'm using a pseudonym. We probably should mention that, shouldn't we?
Should, yeah, because otherwise people are going to go, Claire Allan, you know, new role.
Yeah, you didn't write that book. My makey uppy name is Freya Kennedy. So we'll have 2 FKs.
I never thought of that.
Yeah,
gosh, yeah.
I did think of that. I know it's not, and that's a wee bit. It's just because I love you so much, and I couldn't actually use your actual name.
Well, you know, in my last book, I have changed the name, but when I was writing, sorry, my next book, sorry, the last book I was writing, the one that will come out early next year, I had a character in there called Cara, which, you know, the name has changed now for reasons I won't bore you with, but Cara is obviously your daughter. And I also had a character in there called Davison. So,
and that's my maiden name.
And that's your name. So it just shows how, you know, subliminally names do sort of go in, and you think as you're writing that, I don't know anyone called Cara, I don't know anyone called Davison.
No, they creep in.
I do.
So this is where you tell people about this lovely book. I've read it. I've read one of the most recent versions. Obviously, it's going through edits. And I loved it. I think it's your best book, your most commercial book. It just has the broadest appeal, and it's a real feel-good book, which of course everybody's looking for at the moment.
Yeah, and I think when it comes out in January, hopefully people will be even more ready for, you know, that. I think, you know, a lot of women's fiction is uplifting, isn't it? You know, I mean, this uplift term is sort of, you know, been talked about, but I think uplift's been around in other guises for a long, long time. But anyway, it is an uplifting book, and it is called A Thing Called Love, like the Johnny Cash song, you know, A Thing Called Love. Although there's nothing about the Johnny Cash song, so I won't say too much about it, except it's a love story. It is a love story, but it's about love in all guises, you know. more unusual relationships, like it's a man and a woman, obviously, but there's a mother and daughter in there. There's friends that are unlikely friends. And so it's a study of love, but not just an obvious love affair. So yeah, hopefully January or February next year, I think.
And are you excited about it?
Yeah, I am excited about it, actually. It's been a while. I didn't have a book out in 2019. Oh, sorry, I did. Yeah, I did, early 2019. I can't even remember, did I?
It's like, what year are we in now?
It is
Yeah,
exactly
early 2019, I think you did. Book of Love.
Yes, I did.
February.
Book of Love was out in February. Thank you for that, Claire. Have you met my PA, Claire? Yeah, it just seems a long time because I've been writing this other book for a long time. But I'm now working on the next one, and yeah, it's a constant thing with us, isn't it? That, no sooner does one idea get put to bed and you have that in the sausage factory, then there's other ideas banging away in your brain, and you're ready to write the next one.
I think people don't realise how often you've sort of 3 books, at minimum 3 books in your head at any one time, because you've whatever your is out there that you're publicising, and you've whatever's going through the editing process, and then generally whatever you're writing. So
exactly that. But I'm glad that we work from home and that we are as busy as we are, because frankly, it's probably better to keep our heads, well and truly in fiction when real life is so complex. So this is a question for you now. What has been your favorite lockdown moment? Something that's given you, a real belly laugh.
A belly laugh. Oh goodness. Do you know what? It's probably I know everybody's the same, but it's those like your family, everybody probably has a family WhatsApp group at the minute, and it's just the silliness.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying so hard, as we need to be, to sort of keep everybody up and buoyant, and there's lots of silly pictures doing the rounds.
Yeah, exactly.
And my sisters, I'm obsessed with my nieces and nephews, and my sisters forever sending me videos of what they're getting up to, because obviously I can't go and see them.
Yeah.
Can't give them hugs, and that's really hard. So I have 2 tinies. Thomas is 5 and Finn is 3. I hope that's right.
Which one is Toast Boy?
Toast Boy is Thomas.
Right. Yeah.
Who referred to the melted butter on toast as toast juice, and he doesn't like it. We'll say no more about that. But so he's the love of my life. But so the videos of what they're getting up to. Just
hang on. Does Michael Bublé know this? That Toast Boy is the love of your life?
Well, Michael Bublé is my big passionate love of my life.
I see. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's been keeping me going. And to mention Michael Bublé, he's been keeping me going as well, because he's doing a live stream every night.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Him and his wife, Luisana.
Yeah.
They do every night at 10 o'clock our time. So they've been doing cooking one night. They do exercise one night. They talk about movies and what they're watching and podcasts and whatever another night. And then they do silly games and things like that. So they're actually
an insight into their life.
It's just right in their life from their home. They quite often he's still in his jammies, and they're just being a normal couple trying to get through it. But it's funny and it's entertaining and it's something to look forward to. So I suppose that goes back to just all the funny content that's coming.
And what about a lockdown song? I know mine is "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor. It's just there pounding away in my head constantly. The lyric, "I will survive."
Survive. Do you know, I don't think that I have one. Although I do have, the musical Hamilton, and I've tried to talk Fionnuala into coming to see Hamilton, and she's not interested.
I will.
Get the concept.
You have to be able to come to London, and we have to be able to be within 2 meters of each other, to be fair, to go to Hamilton. So, one thing at a time.
Well, they have. There's a song in the musical, The Room Where It Happens, and they have done a parody. They did it on Saturday Night Live. The Zoom Where It Happens, about being in the Zoom meeting. So that has been stuck in my head on a loop since I've seen that.
Yeah.
So that is probably
And
my.
who knew Zoom would be a new verb? one Zooms every day now, you know.
Zoom and
How
furlough
often,
are two
how
new
often are you
words.
Zooming?
I know. I never even heard of Zoom until a couple of months ago.
No, me neither.
Um, I don't think maybe this is all a big Zoom conspiracy.
Maybe, yeah.
Conspiracy theories or something else around this one, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Let's not go
funny.
there. That's a whole other discussion.
I don't have a tinfoil hat to set aside to put on before I start going into that, but
So are you an
yeah,
avid?
new language.
Bearing in mind what we're all going through now, which is probably, you know, I'm not too fond of the word unprecedented, but it is. Bearing in mind all of that, so are you like a real avid news reader? Are you sort of watching the news reports? Are you Googling BBC News every 10 minutes? Are you watching Twitter for any updates? Or are you more, you know, I'll listen to an update once a day and the rest
At
of the
the
day?
start, I was definitely, because I'm addicted to Twitter, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
no secret. At the start, I was probably gobbling up every bit of information and reading every article, and that just ended up actually making me feel physically sick and terrifying me. And I think I've said it before that one of the biggest battles is, yeah, we've got this illness, this virus, but everybody's mental health is a huge battle at the minute, and you really do have to protect yourself from that. So I've definitely cut back on what news I'm looking for. I will look every day to see what the sort of daily totals are, which sounds a bit grim, but just to sort of see if the curve is flattening.
yeah.
And there's a guy in Derry who does local statistics, comparing Northern Ireland to the rest of UK and Ireland, etc. And I look at what he's saying. But apart from that, no, I have actually stepped back from it because it's just too much.
I think we have to remind ourselves while we're hoping that all these numbers flatten out, you know, and they do and they will, you know, even as those numbers decrease, there's still somebody's son, daughter, mum, dad, whatever, you know. It's just horrendous, you know, just incredibly sad.
And and it's important that people don't just become a statistic, and that's what
Mm.
I think the danger is at the minute. It's just, oh gosh, so many more deaths or so many this. But I have a couple of friends at the minute whose parents have it, and who are very ill in hospital, and it brings it really, really close to home. And I know we had this discussion before. When you start to feel it in a very, very local level, then you realize just how serious it is. And then it's probably even more important then to protect our mental health.
Yeah.
Um, because it could absolutely paralyze you with fear. So I'm going to ask you a question actually based on that, right? Because this discussion is happening around the whole pandemic issue. How do you feel about writing a book which features the pandemic, either generally in the background or as part of a storyline? There's a lot of people saying we can't ignore it going forward.
You know, the book that I have coming out next January was automatically, because I was automatically set in 2020. And I recently, just when I was finishing the edits on it, I've sort of deliberately removed, I've kept it as a generic year because I felt I can't, you know, immerse it in 2020 as was happening naturally in a natural, normal time, without doing justice and without referring to it. And I feel you can't, it's very difficult to give something that huge a nod, you know, when there's a passage of time happening in a novel. You know, it deserves and it deserves more than a nod.
Yeah.
So you either, you know, choose to immerse a book in it and do it justice that way, which I do have an idea for. But if I'm really honest, I think there's going to be a bit of a rush at writing sort of books, you know, around the situations that have arisen from coronavirus. Again, you know, the way we have these ideas, you know, hammering away in our heads, and sometimes we listen to them and sometimes we say, no, not now. I do have one that came to me as an idea set around the pandemic. But I think I've decided that if I write that book, I love the characters that have that the idea, the situation has thrown forth. But I think my decision, my own personal decision, would be if I do write that book, that I'll find another framework for it, because I'm not sure. A, I want to, or B, that there won't be an absolute explosion of books at the time that would come out as well. So yeah, I'm a bit in two minds about it. What about you?
Part of me goes a thriller, closed room.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the absolutely perfect setting for that, a locked room drama. But I think it's going to be too raw, actually, to put out as commercial fiction, as like technically entertaining.
You'd be afraid of trivializing it in some way.
Absolutely, and I think a bit like, obviously, I don't want to compare it like for like, but we see it in Northern Ireland with the Troubles. We're only starting to really have proper discussions about that in our literature now.
Yeah.
Because there's been a passage of time and some degree of healing. And that the discussion can be freer. So whereas I do think there has to be a sort of, you're right, a rush of books to it. Personally, I think it would be ambulance chasing. It's just I don't know.
I think it depends.
Something about it makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it depends, and I think in the hands of many authors, they could carry it off, and but I think you're right, actually. Certainly for me, I think I would need, because it's having such a personal effect on me, I think I would need that healing time, that grieving time, actually, for, when this is all over, we're all told that we're in it for the long haul, and it's impossible to name whether that's going to be a few months or indeed the end of the year or into next year. God forbid, when I think about that, I do feel slightly nauseous. But at the end of the day, feeling nauseous is better than being in hospital. And
exactly,
it is, as they say on Love Island, it is what it is. We're not going to have any Love Island this year, are we?
No, but have you watched Too Hot to Handle on Netflix?
I haven't, actually.
I don't watch Love Island. We've had this discussion before too. But I imagine it's quite close.
Right. Okay.
Except the whole concept is they go in and basically, if you haven't watched it, it's these gorgeous people put on an island, all bikini
clad, young and luscious, yeah.
And they all think they're going in to have as much nookie. How old do I sound? Nookie, as they want, and they're all up for it. But the catch is they're actually not allowed to have any physical contact.
Oh my goodness!
And there's a prize
spoiler.
Yeah, there's a prize fund of £100,000, and any time there is any physical contact, money is deducted from the prize fund.
God, okay.
So it's quite interesting.
So it's a new take again on the same idea about youngsters.
And I can tell you, a kiss costs $3,000.
Oh my God!
There is not a single kiss that I've had in this, apart from Michael Bublé, maybe, that is worth $3,000.
I hope Neil doesn't watch this.
So watch that. That will give you your Love Island.
Okay, I will. I have actually got that feeling that maybe I've exhausted all Netflix and whatever. I've got to the point now where, because I'm watching TV every night, that everything is sort of blending into everything else, and I'm not even sure what's what anymore.
You find your concentration span isn't what it was, so it does become more of a blur. But
that's one of the reasons that on social media, when everybody is saying, oh my God, this is your time to excel and do this and do that and learn Mandarin or whatever, I end up sort of shrinking into a corner, because it's everything I can do to get through this, to stay sane, to hopefully stay healthy, to figure out how I get by every day without just brutally missing my girls. It's everything I can do to do that without feeling the pressure to,
which is more than enough.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I think, everybody who might be listening out there, just be good to yourselves, because we don't need any added pressure in a situation that is a pressure cooker anyway.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think we should finish on a bookish question.
Yeah.
What is your lockdown read? What is the best thing that you've read, if you've managed to, or audiobooks? Audiobooks count as reads.
They do.
During this lockdown.
I am the world's worst to ask about books, because even books that I have absolutely adored, I forget the names of. I need to get right. You talk amongst yourselves there, Claire, Allan, and Dog, and I will just get my Kindle out. And
but a cat has appeared beside me in the as well, so we've got a whole menagerie thing happening here.
Do you tell me yours while I find mine, because I can't remember.
My favorite one, well, because I always feel I have to pick one from like crime genre and then one from lighter, funny read genre. We had this discussion about Liz Nugent's.
Oh God, yes. How could I have forgotten Liz? I think we might agree on that book, actually. Mm-hmm. If you're going to choose that, I only read it a few weeks ago as well, and I just think it's remarkable.
And I like to think, Fionnuala, because we can say this, we spent a week with Liz at a writing retreat while Liz was writing this book. And so I like to think that it was our talent, obviously, just flowing into Liz.
I forgot that she would have been writing that then.
What?
Liz, we obviously really influenced you.
I don't know which of the mad people we were in that book.
She must have been listening to me talking about my mad family at one instance.
So, yeah, that is a brilliant book, and I know I've said it, obviously we can't spoiler it at all, but I know I said to Fionnuala that it is a masterclass in characterization, which is what Liz does so brilliantly. She brings her characters to life.
She does.
And the whole way through it, I was going, this is brilliant, it's a masterclass, but when you get to the end, it's like, oh my God. Liz usually opens her books on a big...
She did that too. Yeah, she did that too. I can't remember the opening line, but it was something around the coffin, wasn't it?
But I think the end, when it's like that times 20, it's just that big, and it just is, it's a sucker punch. So that is the one that has probably made the biggest impact on me.
And we were only talking about it a couple of days ago, weren't we, when we were on the phone together. Yeah, I loved that. And I love the title as well, Our Little Cruelties. It's sort of really catches exactly what the book is about. You and I often have this discussion, don't we? Like, when we're writing a book, we have what's called a working title, but it's rarely what, ends up being published title. And I always love looking at, when I've read a book, thinking about the title and thinking how well and beautifully that fits. And Liz's book is about our little cruelties.
Yeah, and don't think she was talking about us. We're not cruel.
No, but our frailties / cruelties as human beings, I think.
Well, that's it. Everybody has it, and that's the thing about the book is that these are sort of, and it's the thing that I love writing in books, is ordinary people doing fairly despicable things sometimes, because that's just what happens, I suppose. Because my computer's going all wobbly because that's me moving my sore leg. Sorry, apologies. So I think that's what works if you really, really believe in the characters.
No, I loved that one too. I am reading a lot, but then I read a lot anyway. So yeah, and to be honest, I'm liking nearly everything I'm reading at the moment. There's a lot of new books coming out, in the next few months, and
so many.
That's one of the things you and I want to do with this. Whatever we're calling this that we're doing, is support the authors that have got new books coming out during this time, where normally they would have a launch and they would have, different sort of support things going on.
We are happening, and it's obviously very difficult at the minute for that to happen. So what we're going to do going forward is that we're hoping twice a week to have our beautiful faces.
Yeah.
And also to speak to different authors. So it will be authors across genres. So it's not just crime authors and women's fiction authors. We'll be speaking to loads of different people. And hopefully as we've done.
Hopefully having a bit of crack.
Yeah, you know, it's not going to be all coronavirus stuff. It's not going to be all book stuff. It's you know, just going to be a wee bit of a chat. And this is our contribution to keeping people sane, hopefully,
including ourselves.
Yes, very much.
You know, I did get up this morning and I put the face on and ignore my hair. But you know,
well, I think we should do a check-in about once every 2 weeks about the state of the roots.
I swear to God, it is actually 3-tone. But anyway, don't worry about that. That's fine. The fact is, we both, you know, let's not look below and see the trackies going on. But yeah, we have been just living in Slobsville, really, haven't we? So it's nice to get up and have a reason to actually beautify ourselves a little.
I know my child is now going to look at me and go, you look so fancy with your face washed. And you know, she did that on me last week when I had to do another Zoom meeting and I'd put on makeup, and she was just like, where are you going? Are you going out somewhere? What's happening?
Like, are you allowed out, Mummy?
I know. She's like, you didn't tell me this lockdown was over yet. I'm like, no, just doing a Zoom meeting. So
shall we sign off then? And until the next time, and we know who we have coming, but we're not going to say anything until
it's in the bag, baby. Right. Okay. So give a wee wave, Fionnuala.
Bye.
Bye.
Lovely to see you all.